Do you see a worksheet over here? Do you see a worksheet? Excel blank Excel file, blank Excel worksheet. Anyone can say yes or no, either way.
Yes, yes, we
Yes,
can
sir,
see.
it's visible.
Okay, perfect. So, so let us start with what we mean by recording. So for doing that, you need to have a tab in your ribbon, which is called as a developer. So just raise your hand if you already have this tab in the ribbon. So just like you have home tab, insert tab, page layout tab, you should have a developer tab in your Excel. So just check whether do you have it. If you have it, just raise your hand. Okay. None of you seem to have it. Nobody has raised hand. Fair enough. Then I'll need to first tell you how to get that developer tab, which is available with me here. So let me show you that first. So what you go do, you have to go to File, Options, and you get a Excel Options dialog box. There you go to Customize ribbon, and there I see this developer tab on the uh, right hand side, which shows Customize the ribbon here. Uh, you should have it the tick mark over here if it is not already here. So can you just check and tell me whether you have this developer tab? Do you see here? There may not be a tick mark there, which you need to do. Just do that, and once you are done, just raise your hand, uh, just to say indicate that you have uh, done it. You got it. We'll need this developer tab in everybody's ribbon before we proceed further.
Got it, sir.
So you got it, Hemant?
Yeah, Hemant, yeah, I got it.
Sir, where is it in file?
Uh, in File, go to Options. So let me just do that. In File, go to Options, and you will get this Excel Options dialog box. There, go for Customize ribbon. Here on the right hand side, you would see this Developer tab, which is typically not tick marked. You need to just tick mark it.
Okay,
That
sir.
will
Good.
that will bring it here. Has everybody got it? This is required. Without that, we can't do anything further today. So please ensure that you have got it. If you have not got it, let me know so that I can show it again. Okay. Shivalini ma'am also raised her hand, which I guess it indicates that you have got it. So Hemant has said got it. Okay. Okay. So Shivalini ma'am has raised hand, which I guess you indicate that you have got it. I mean, you could get that developer tab, right? Okay. Okay. So I'm assuming that everybody has got this developer tab, and now
Sir,
we'll.
I'm yet to get it. My laptop is hanging a little. I'll take 1 minute. Please
Okay.
wait.
Yeah, yeah. We'll wait for a minute.
I got it, sir.
Okay. Perfect. So now we see this developer tab over here. So there are many buttons. We are not going to get into all of that. We'll see the essential ones which we need. The essential one is actually a record macro, which is what uh, will help us to record a macro. So what is macro? Is basically you could record a series of commands. You record it as a macro, and then you play it, you execute it it will just reply it all. So for many times you do a lot of things which are routine. You open Excel file, you do some formatting, some changes, which are routine. I mean, every now and then you do the same thing again and again. So you could record a macro and you just click a button. Those four, five things, six, seven things could be done uh, in a row, and you don't need to really do it. So it definitely helps your productivity improvement. I mean, you don't spend your time in doing something routine activities. That is one way to look at macros. And there are some obviously shortcuts that you can develop to do certain things. Many times people use macros when they distribute, send out the Excel files to other, and there's a button that you see and say, you know, click on this button and things will happen on the kind of magic. It happens on the worksheet. That's another way to use macros. However, when you use macros, you need to save your file as XLSM. So generally we save it as a XLSX, but when you are using macros, you have to save it as a XLSM, which is basically said macro enabled Excel files. And when you send across, when somebody opens your XLSM file, by default it is macros are disabled, and then once they enable, then they can see the macros. Now the challenge with macros is that you could do very funny things with macros. So for example, I can create a XLSM file, and once you open that thing, it can actually delete some of the data in your other open Excel file which are opened and all that. So you could do some tricky things. It's a programming actually. It's some coding that you're doing, and this could be misused heavily. And that's the reason many times people are advised not to use open macro enabled uh, Excel sheets. You should not enable them. That is what generally advised, because people may do. So it's not a virus that they create, but they can create some thing which could, steal your, damage your data in a way. So one has to be careful. So when you send macro enabled Excel file to others, they would also be need to be cautious. They may also wonder. So only if you get Excel file from a trusted source, uh, then only you should open those and enable those macros. Otherwise, you should avoid it. So because of this negative thing, macros are typically not encouraged in many companies. People say don't use macros because you can't share them as freely as what you can share Excel files typically. So that part one should remember. But otherwise, they are really good, and we'll see in today's session. We'll have one session on macros. You'll see that there are some good benefits that we could have. So let us start exploring, and let us start with this record macro. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do some trivial task. I'm just going to type four things. I'm just going to say uh, south, east, and west, and then I'm just going to. Okay, sorry, I should not have done that. Let me first do record macro. So let me click on the record macro, and when I click on record macro, it says macro name. So I'll just I have to give a good name, but let me just put name as a macro one. But if you're using it for some serious purpose, I should give that. Shortcut key is what you should use only if you feel that macro is going to be very, very useful. Don't use standard Control C, Control V, because this macro will uh, override that. So if you use, for example, Control Z, then when you press Control Z, this macro will run, and you can't do undo them with Control Z. So this is that part. Then store macros in this workbook. This is by default, which is you should maintain as default. You could also use as a new personal macro workbook so that you could use them in all your workbooks. But we'll use this, and you can use it. Write a description. If you are writing a serious macro, then you should write a good description of what this macro is doing, because later you may forget yourself what this macro is doing. So good idea to do that. Since we are in the training phase, learning phase, we'll just use macro one and just go ahead with it. Let me say okay. Okay. And now let me do something like north, uh, south, east, west. Let me just select them. uh, do a border, put a yellow thing, and that's all. I think that should be good enough. I'll just stop recording. Okay, so I got this macro one kind of created. Okay. Now how do I run this? Let me just open a new worksheet. Click here and let me just click on macros. And I see this macro one. I say run, and I got this data. Okay, as simple. Obviously, we have done a very trivial thing, nothing very useful in a way. But you got idea, I guess. You know that you could do some routine activities, and that will get repeated over here. Okay. There is one more thing to it. Let me open a new worksheet. Instead of A1, I put my cursor in say E3. Open macros. I have macro 1. Run it. It started here E3, but it jumped to A1, A2, A3, A4, and it just did the south, east, west, and actually worked with this range. Now you might have guessed by now that this has something to do with relative referencing or fixed referencing. So by default, it does relative referencing. Sorry, fixed referencing. So we need to click on this. So let me open a new worksheet. I say use relative references. Okay.
काय म्हणतो ओजस काय चाललंय सध्या घरीच व्हेरी गुड
Hemant,
तुमचा युएस
Hemant,
क्लायंट आहे कुठचा आहे नाही माहिती आहे पण क्लायंट कुठचा आहे
Hemant,
युएस
can
आहे का
you mute
इंडिया
yourself?
क्लायंट आहे
Hemant, can you mute
अच्छा
yourself?
ओके
Hemant?
Sir, I guess I can mute him. Should I do that?
Yeah.
आमचं नेहमीप्रमाणे तेच चाललंय
How do you do that? You just click here
I
and
just got an option either to pin his screen or to mute him. He can unmute himself. That I
okay.
mean, only he can unmute himself, but I could mute him.
He has done. He
Okay.
has done it. Yeah, he's done it.
Okay, good. Thank you. So yeah, so let us come back. So we now have done this use relative referencing, and let me do the record macro. Now I call this macro 2. I'll just put with relative referencing. I say okay, and then I do the same thing. Whatever I was doing earlier: north, south, east, and west. I just select it, go to home, use some border, uh, do this, and go back and stop recording. Now I go somewhere else in the same or any other worksheet. Just be here F3 and go and select macro 2 and run it. And it runs perfectly. It's kind of using relative referencing. So this is how you could do relative referencing. So sometimes this is useful because you want to run something at a particular point. But sometimes you may want to use fixed referencing, like you want to put header, you want to change the color of first row of the worksheet or something like that. Then the fixed referencing also works. By default, you have fixed references. So you need to specifically select relative references to record the macro. So what I want you to do is to do this recording macro, both options. Try without relative referencing, the default one. Do something simple, and then record a second macro 2 with relative references. Okay. Maybe it'll take some 5 minutes or so to do that. Once you are done, put it in the done in the chat box. But if you get any difficulty, you can unmute and ask the difficulty, or put in the chat box either. Grishma, we just started and we started doing macros. So let me just repeat quickly. for you.
Thank you, sir. I'm really sorry for being late.
No problem. Do you have a developer tab in your worksheet, in your Excel, in your ribbon?
Okay.
Do you see the developer tab in your Excel? In the Excel ribbon, do you see a developer tab?
I can only see till view.
Okay. Okay. Then what you need to do, you go to File, Options. You will see Excel Options dialog box. Go to Customize ribbon,
Okay.
and you see a developer tab there. Just tick mark there. It is tick mark for me. You may not have it. Just tick mark it. Say OK, and then you should get the developer tab.
Okay, give me 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So while using relative references, we just click on relative references and then we record macro, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Grishma, did you get developer tab?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is, I'm repeating, but others also who might have some questions can again give attention. So what? So by default, you will not have this use relative references on. You will have in developer tab a record macro. So I just click on record macro. I'll get some uh, macro 3. Let me get macro 3. You'll get macro 1 essentially. I say okay. Then I do something, some routine activities. So I will just do north, south. I just select these two, put a border, kind of fill it, and then go ahead and stop record. Now this, if I go to new worksheet and go to macros, go to macro 3, run it, I just see that happening here. However, if I go to other cell and go to macros, run macro 3, run it will not really work properly. Rather, I should show it here, the new worksheet. I go macro 3, run it. It starts here, but ultimately goes to A1, A2. So it's kind of a fixed reference. To avoid that, what I should do is click on use relative reference, then record macro. Here it will be macro 4 now. I say okay. I just say north, south. I'm doing a very trivial thing just to illustrate. Okay. And just go to developer, stop record. Now I can put a cursor anywhere, go to macros, go to macro 4 and do run. It will do relatively. Wherever it is, it will start from there. So that is how macros are to be used.
Thank you so much, sir. I have a doubt.
Yes.
So it will basically do a copy paste kind of a thing wherever I want it, right? But what if my column is like long, in terms of the width? So will that copy the same exactly the text only, or the column length will also get copied?
So basically, it will kind of copy all the commands that you are doing. So, for example, if you are selecting, say, 20 cells in a column and doing something, and if you're using relative referencing, for example, and if you go somewhere else, say H3, it will go up to H12. Sorry, yeah, H12. It will take 10 cells. So whatever we are doing here, we are selecting 10 cells. It will take 10 cells, and then whatever you do there, more of a formatting is what gets. So all the commands get copied in a way. It's not a content. That is not what we are looking at copy paste, but all the instructions, all the commands that we are executing will be stored like a set of instructions, and they will be repeated when you run them.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Those who are done, can you just mention done in the chat box?
Sir, I'm not able to do the relative reference wala thing. It's not happening. It's throwing me an error.
What is the error that you see?
It's debugging something. So I am doing something wrong. Can I share my screen and show you what I am doing?
Yes, let us do that quickly. Okay, my erase is done.
Is my screen visible?
Not yet. Uh, yeah, it is. It has come now.
Okay, just a second. Yeah. So this is a new sheet that I have created.
Hmm.
Now I'm going to the developer tab and I click on use references,
Hmm.
record macro 4
Hmm.
and OK.
Okay.
Now I type here north, south, east and west. Now I select all of it. I go to home. I put all borders, custom fill in yellow color, and then I go to developer tab and I stop recording. Now I go here, macro 4 run. Oh, it happened.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else who also has got any issue? Okay. Arya also said done. Tanvi said done. What about Suhas? Are you done? Krishna is also done. Suhas, Nikita, Shivalini ma'am, Hemant. Okay. Let us proceed now. I mean, there is obviously a little more to cover. So let us look at now. So recording is something which people use, and uh, as I said, it actually helps you some productivity gain. Something which is like formatting thing, particularly, formatting header, footer kind of a thing. That really helps, and that's all. I mean, you just don't do uh, macros any further. So typically people use macros. It is recommended to use recording and playing. That's all. Executing. That's all. Don't do more than that. But if you are more curious to see what is actually happening, then the next thing that you might want to do is to look at the code that is got written. So what has happened is when we say record macros, some code is already written, and if you want to see the code, then you need to click on this Visual Basic button. So when you click on the Visual Basic button, you may see many things. This is not what you will see. This is what comes in my screen. But let me just. So what you do if you get something very funny, you have to click on the modules here, and it'll say module one. Now the problem with this window is that this is small. I mean the font size is small. I can't zoom it. So you may need to refer to your Excel. So I'll just show it here, and I'll give you some time to look at your Excel to really read this code. It will not be very readable on the shared screen, so to say. So here is a macro one. Then if you scroll down to the macro two, in my case, it is a macro 3 and macro 4, but I guess in your case, it is only macro 1 and macro 2, which is what we created, recorded. So here you can read active cell dot formula R1 C1 is equal to north, then range A2 select. So basically, what it has done, we had active cell, which is A1, So there it has put north. Okay. Then it has gone to A2. It got selected that. That became active cell now. So active cell dot formula R1 C1 is equal to south. Then go to A3, then east west. Then it kind of does many things here. So whatever we are doing actually, everything is kind of uh, recorded as a coding there. Now we may not really understand all of it. May not need to also understand all of it. But if you just scroll it here somewhere, you'll also see that there is something here 653535. So color. So we say with selection dot interior, uh, you put a color. So I guess this is a step for putting a color. So that is out here. I guess here it is borders. You say Excel continuous. So if you read through it, you will get some sense of what kind of code it is there. Just to try out, just for the sake of trying out, you could change this color code. So I just put 1535, right? Something. I don't know what is that color code is. I just do that. I go back to my Excel. I can do alter F1, F11 uh, if I need to alter F11 bring the Excel. So you could toggle between this and this by pressing alter F11, or you can simply use a Windows to just check it out. Now, if I just go here and run macro one, which I have changed now, yes, I guess the color got changed. That color code which was there was different, so that has kind of worked. So similarly, macro 2. Now here, if you see, it says active cell formula R1C1 north. Then it says offset 10. So you go one level down and then select it and write south. Then again go one level down and then write east, then write west. So this is relative referencing. That is what we are seeing here. And the remaining things are kind of almost similar. Here you see this color again and all.
Hello, hello. Anyone able to hear me?
Yeah, we're able to hear you, but sir is not there in the meeting, I guess.
Oh, okay. I thought so. No one is okay.
Yeah, yeah, sir
Let's wait.
has gotten dropped out, I guess. Yeah, he just joined.
Yeah, I lost the connection. I really didn't know when did I lose the connection. Uh, did I? Let me just share the screen. Do you see the screen?
Yes, sir, we can see the screen.
Okay. So, so actually, I given some time to read the code. And I think I lost the connection after that. Was it correct or? Uh,
Yeah, yeah, we lost you long back. I guess the last thing we could hear is how did you change the color here?
okay. Okay. Fair enough. So I guess then what I said essentially is that you try it out now yourself and just take few minutes to do it.
Can you show how did you go into this page again from the Excel sheet?
Okay. So in Excel, you could either press Alt F11.
Okay.
So for example, let me first close this. Okay. And I just say Alt F11, and it opens the Visual Basic for Applications (VBA) screen. In that, you should go in Module One. So double click there. It should by default come that only when you open it, and you should see your Macro One and Macro.
Okay, I'll check.
Please check everyone. So just check out whether you can see your code Macro One, Macro Two. For Grishma, it will be Macro Three. Sorry, for her also it's Macro One, Macro Two. Just go see the code whether it makes sense to you, and maybe just try changing the color, and to see whether rerunning Macro One does it that change happens or not.
So Alt F11, and I can see a gray screen. Then which tab to go?
Uh, do you see something like this? At least this window,
No,
Visual Basic for Application. Alt
window
F11.
is there, but grayed. Yeah, grayed area it is.
Okay. Then what you can do, just close whatever it is there and go here, and in Developer tab, click on Visual Basic. That will also bring the same window.
Okay.
Try it out. Have you got it, Mayuresh?
No, sir. In the same sheet, I am doing Alt F11. It only gray colored window is trying to search.
So then forget about it. You just go to Excel. In the Developer tab, you see Visual Basic button in the ribbon.
Okay.
If you say there is alter F11 given, it opens the Visual Basic editor. You click that, it
Okay.
will open the this window.
Okay, let me try.
Hi, sir. I am not able to find color 6 5 whatever you were showing.
Okay. If you just go near the end,
Hmm.
where there is a end sub, in that there is something called with selection dot interior.
Oh,
You will
okay.
see that color. I think it was a 65535. You can change it to something different.
Okay. I'll check.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, can I share screen?
Yes. Let us do that.
So this is the page which I had done, sheet 1.
Okay. Just a minute. Huh. Okay. And you click on.
Okay, this is the
Okay.
gray
Fair.
color scheme.
Fair. Just take that left window. Can you just expand the left window? Just expand it so that we can read it. Yeah. Here, just go down. Yeah, just go down there. Yeah, there is a modules you see here, and there is a module one. Double click on that
Yeah.
module one. Yeah, double click.
Okay, I had done single click.
Ha.
Thought
Yeah,
so.
and just and expand it. Yeah, now you'll see it. So your macro one was nothing actually. Macro T's were what you created. So yeah, with the relative
So and
referencing you have
here,
done it.
yeah, and here how to change the color?
Yeah, just go down. Just go down near the end. Hmm. Did you change the color somewhere or no?
No, I'm not. It's still yellow.
Uh, no, so just go down and some. You don't say anywhere color.
Color index.
Color index name.
Sir, I guess he has to go down a little bit. Even I changed the color index and tint and shade, but nothing works with that. It goes to white. Ask him to go down a little. Ask
Yeah,
him to keep
Mayurish.
going down.
Mayurish, can you go a little down?
This is the maximum.
This is the maximum.
See.
Ends up
Okay. Wait. I saw. Right now, see the second line on your screen on
Yes.
the code.
color. Okay, six
Yeah.
double five three
Change
five.
it to something else.
So it follows a sequence. So in my case, I changed the color the last. So that's where the last thing came up. You simply changed color and then you did something more. That something more is what the code C you see down there. Yeah, just go to that window, Excel window now.
Okay, it's not changed.
Now you run the macro now. You have to run the macro. Go to the Excel window. Click on the macro button. Second button, macro. Yes. Macro 2, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Run that. Run. Yes.
Okay, black
It
color.
changed. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Good. I guess Rujita said she's done. I'm sure everybody must have done by now.
Yeah.
So, so any difficulty, anybody? I mean, is it? Let me share. Mayurish, can you stop sharing? I will start my sharing. So by now you would have figured out that making it editing the code is not a very great idea in a way, because uh, the auto-generated code is not very readable. I mean, we don't know. I mean, one can obviously those who write macros professionally, they obviously know all of it, but otherwise it is very difficult to kind of. I mean, it takes its own learning to do it. And once you, if you want to really become a champion in writing macros, then you have a good learning curve. Generally, we do 4 days of training program for, or at least 2 days of training program to at least do a jump start on programming. Or if you have background in programming, if you have done programming in C programming or Basic or Java or Python, then you'll find it easy. And only thing that you need to learn is just so syntax part of it. What does selection mean? What does borders means? And all that kind of thing. Just to get a feel of writing some code, writing your own macro. Just come down near the end where you see end sub. Uh, just press enter there, and then or let me just see now, and then you can try it later. I'll just say sub, and I'll say my macro, and when I press enter, I get that line upstairs, which is like, and I get end sub automatic. I just press tab, and I say MSG box, that is message box, hello world. So those who have done programming will know this is what we start our learning of programming language. We say hello world. Now let me go to Excel. I could be anywhere. Go to macro. I see my macro over here. I just say my macro run, and this message box popped up. Hello world. That's all. I mean, we have written a programming. I mean, we written our first macro. So if you just want to have that joy, please take next couple of minutes to write your first macro. Just go to Visual Basic, go near the end, just type sub, put the name of the macro that you want to have, opening bracket, closing bracket, press enter, and just type in this message box, hello world or hello, whatever you want to say. Just take a couple of minutes to do that. So that way now you know how to write a macro, essentially. Once you are done with hello world, you can simply say done in the chat box. Yeah, so Ruchita is done. Let us wait for a couple of minutes for others to finish.
So how do we run a macro wherein we can put it in the cells? Right now, what we did was for a message box, right? So if
Hmm.
we want to do something like a small table of north, south, east, west through
Hmm.
this coding, how do we do that?
Yes, I'll show that. Just
Okay.
let us wait for a minute. Then I'll show you that next. Now this message box is not really fun if you just have it like this and you are required to do, go to macros and all that. So what typically you would see is that we go on Excel. You could do, there is something called the insert here, and actually you can insert controls. Um, actually can actually create what we call a form, input form in Excel using this kind of a thing. And as I said, you can write a whole web, a kind of a app, a desktop app. You can have a form inside Excel when you can submit, you could save the data and all that. So you can write a whole full-fledged app kind of a thing. We'll not get in all of that. What we'll do is simply pick up a button from here. So just pick up a button and put here, and it will say macro name. I'll just say escape, cancel here. So I just get a button over here. Let me just expand it, and let me say hello here. And then I click on this, right click, and I say assign macro. Right click, assign macro, and I have my macro here. You could assign any macro for that matter. So I just put my macro here and say okay. So once I have it, anytime I go and say hello, it will say hello world. Similarly, you could have a button and say insert table and assign that macro of maybe better macro 2, and click on it and you will get it. Same thing. Yeah. So you could do either of these kind of things. Uh, some people also do this thing also. You can put this, right click. So any shape that you put it, you also have assign macro over here. So you did not use the button kind of thing. You can select my macro, say okay. Here you could edit some text and say hello. You could actually do it something more interesting here. I mean, I'm just doing something just to, and I assign this macro. So when I click on it, you see hello world. So either you could use a shape like this and you can format it, or in a developer window you can insert a button. Either way you could do it, and you click on it, assign a macro, so that macro will run. So you don't need to really go to macros and pick up. So if you're giving this worksheet to someone else, you don't need to teach them macros. You just say click here and things will happen. What will happen is what you have coded. Okay. So that is what how people would use macros essentially, by putting a button or any shape, maybe it a circle or a rectangle or text box, anything that you can do. Just right click and assign macro, and you are done. So that is how you would use macros. Any questions? Is this clear to you? Okay. So let me just quickly one more thing, one more show. Sorry, let me quickly show one more thing. So this sub is actually nothing but actually stands for subroutine. So those who have done programming would know that there's something called subroutine and functions. So subroutine is something where you write something, the code get executed. That's all. But function is something which returns value. Now, the moment you hear functions, we already have seen functions, right? We already seen functions here in financial functions, logical functions. These are what Excel has given us, right? Can we write our own function? The answer is yes. And I will show you a very trivial function, but you could actually write your own function. So let me just go ahead here, and let me just say function, and I'll write something, sum of two numbers. I'm just using a naming convention such a way that it is distinguishable, sum of two numbers. And I'll take two numbers, say num1 as integer. So now it will give me help, let's just say integer, comma, num2 as integer, take comma, and this is written as integer. So integer basically a full number. Essentially, integer means 35, 76 are integers. They're whole numbers. The moment you say 37.53, it's a decimal number. So we want integer. So let us take this, and you get this end function automatically done. And I'll just say sum of two numbers. Control C, I take that. Sum of two numbers is equal to, and what I'm doing is obviously very trivial. I just say num1 plus num2. Obviously, you could do anything more meaningful. That is, you have some specific formula per se, which you want to do. For example, if you want to calculate pass fail kind of a thing, right? You could write a function, show result, give result kind of thing. I have done that. Now let me go to Excel. Anywhere I go, I have two numbers, 4 and 5. And here I write a formula equal to sum of two numbers. I see my function here. Okay. And then I need to give two arguments. I'll give two arguments, this one and this one. Close the bracket, press enter, I get 9. If I change it to 35, 55, I get my answer, right? So this is my uh, function, sum of two numbers. So earlier we have seen, this pass fail kind of a thing, the formulas were written there, but I could write my own function, which will use all the formulas, whatever I want to do. And somebody has to just type that function, that formula. And obviously, anybody who knows Excel can find it out, what is the thing. But it is not as visible as, earlier what we saw. So you could write your own functions. Just like Excel function, you could write your own functions. So this is what you could do as a function. Is this clear? Any questions? Okay. So what I want you to do, I want you to do both the things, assigning macro to a shape or a button and executing it, and then writing a simple function like this. Obviously, you can write any function, not necessarily the function that I wrote. But if you face any difficulty, please let me know. Once you are done, then you can exit the session. We are almost done. 3 minutes left. I guess you'll need 3 to 5 minutes to do both the things. First is assign a macro to a button, or so just do that. Assign a macro to a button or a shape, and then write your own function. Once you are doing both the things, we are done for the day, and you can exit the session. But please stay back if you are find any error while doing this thing. And while leaving, just say you are done, and then you can leave. Let me stop the recording now.